All my life, I've watched people chase respect the way some chase applause, loudly, desperately, eager for proof that they matter, that their words carry weight. But the irony is this: the more you demand respect, the less of it you receive. Respect is never claimed. It's earned in silence, in repetition, in the invisible choices you make when no one is watching. People often ask me, how do I get others to respect me? And I always offer the same answer. Stop trying to get it. Start becoming someone who doesn't need to ask. Because the truth is, respect doesn't come from control. It comes from consistency, from setting boundaries without apology, from showing up fully present, not emotionally volatile, not desperate to be liked, but calm, grounded, whole. And this is where many of us struggle, especially if we've spent a lifetime being overlooked, underestimated, or manipulated. We think that raising our voice will finally make us heard, that firmness means fury, that power lies in being louder than everyone else in the room. But let me tell you something most people will never say aloud. The most respected person in the room is usually the quietest, not because they have nothing to say, but because they don't need to prove anything. They know who they are. They know what they stand for, and they refuse to abandon their peace just to win a reaction. Maybe no one taught you this growing up. Maybe you saw respect as something granted to those who demanded it, who imposed fear, who always had the last word. But that's not respect. That's compliance, and it fades the moment the fear does. True respect is different. It grows slowly. It's built through emotional discipline, when you stay calm in chaos, steady in conflict, firm in your truth, but kind in your delivery. It grows through boundaries, when you teach others how to treat you, not by punishing them, but by showing them who you no longer allow yourself to be around. And it grows through presence, when you listen more than you speak, when your attention becomes a gift, and when your silence says, I don't need to compete here. So if you've ever felt invisible, if you've been chasing validation that never came, if you've raised your voice and still weren't heard, this is your invitation to stop reaching outward and start returning inward. Because the more deeply you respect yourself, the less you'll crave it from others. Years ago, I met a man in one of my workshops, a father of 3, a manager in a large company, well-dressed, well-spoken, but behind his practiced smile was a quiet frustration. During a break, he leaned in and whispered, "No one listens to me at home. No one takes me seriously at work. I provide for everyone, but I feel invisible." I looked at him for a moment and asked, "When was the last time you said no without explaining yourself?" He blinked, unsure. Then he laughed nervously. "I don't know if I ever have." And there it was. You see, respect begins the moment you stop needing to be understood by everyone, the moment you choose your peace over their approval, not in rebellion, not in anger, but in quiet clarity. People respect what is consistent, what is firm, what is rooted. And a person who cannot say no without guilt is a person others will never truly trust. Why? Because if you don't protect your time, your energy, your heart, why should they? Let me be clear. Being emotionally available is not the same as being emotionally exposed. You can love deeply and still draw lines. You can be kind and still say, "This is not acceptable." You can be generous and still walk away when something violates your dignity. In fact, the only way to be truly kind is to be internally anchored. Because if you're not grounded in your own worth, your kindness turns into performance, your service turns into sacrifice, and your silence turns into self-abandonment. Respect has nothing to do with how many people like you. It has everything to do with how you carry yourself when no one is clapping. Let me give you a picture. Think of a mountain, steady, immovable. It doesn't shout, it doesn't chase, it doesn't explain its presence. It just stands, day after day, through wind, through storm, through sunshine. Now, think of someone in your life who commands respect simply by the way they walk into a room. They don't demand attention, but they get it. They don't interrupt, but when they speak, everyone listens. That kind of presence, it's earned in solitude, built in moments of quiet refusal, forged in decisions that no one applauds, but everyone feels. If you're tired of being overlooked, misunderstood, dismissed, maybe the path forward isn't louder words or longer explanations. Maybe it's fewer. Maybe it's this. You stop chasing, you start aligning, and you let your life speak for itself. There's a sacred kind of power in the person who doesn't flinch when misunderstood. I once taught a woman who had led community projects for years. She was compassionate, dependable, endlessly available. Everyone loved her, until she started saying no. She told me, "The moment I set boundaries, I was called cold, difficult, selfish." I looked her in the eye and said, "That's when they began respecting you." You see, when you've trained people to expect your self-abandonment, your self-respect will always feel like betrayal. But that discomfort is the beginning of reverence, because people may complain when you shift, but deep down they notice, and quietly they begin adjusting their tone, their expectations, their approach. That's how respect begins, not with declarations, but with demonstration, not with arguments, but with alignment. If you want others to take your time seriously, take it seriously first. If you want others to value your voice, speak with clarity, not volume. If you want others to treat you with dignity, stop apologizing for having standards. I've seen people lose themselves trying to be liked by everyone. But let me tell you this. When you betray yourself to keep the peace, you plant a silent resentment inside, and that resentment grows, not just toward others, but toward the version of yourself who didn't speak up. So speak, Not to be loud, but to be clear. Not to convince, but to reclaim. Respect isn't built by domination. It's built by dignity. And dignity looks like this. It's declining invitations that exhaust your soul. It's walking away from conversations that cost your peace. It's making choices aligned with your values, even when they confuse or disappoint others. And most of all, it's not defending your worth to people committed to misunderstanding it, because you are not here to explain yourself into being respected. You are here to embody who you truly are, deeply, quietly, and without compromise. And those who are meant to honor that will feel it. They'll feel it in the way you carry yourself, in the way you no longer justify your silence, in the calm you bring into every room you enter. Because that calm, that's what people respect most of all. Let me tell you something I've learned, not just from studying human nature, but from living inside its contradictions. People don't follow the loudest person in the room. They follow the one who makes them feel safe in their presence. And safety doesn't come from control. It comes from emotional stability, from knowing that the person before you will not lose themselves in pressure, panic, or pride. That's what earns respect. Not charisma, not charm, but consistency of character. So if you've been asking, how do I get others to take me seriously? Let me reframe that question. What if you stopped asking? What if, instead, you chose to become so centered, so inwardly whole, that the right people couldn't help but notice? You don't need to announce your growth. You don't need to prove your value. You just need to live it, daily, gently, and unapologetically. Because the world watches in silence. It may not applaud your boundaries at first. It may resist your transformation. But over time, the vibration of your truth will become undeniable. People will feel your presence before you speak. They will watch how you say no with grace, how you honor your word, how you show up fully but never beg for attention. That's what creates quiet influence. And if you've been broken in the past, if your boundaries were once ignored, your voice dismissed, your soul stretched too thin, hear this. You can begin again. You can stand without shouting. You can lead without controlling. You can earn respect not by demanding it, but by embodying it. So from this day forward, speak less, but say more. Defend less, but stand taller. Explain less, but live truer. Because those who carry themselves with quiet self-respect rarely need to raise their voice. Their life already speaks loud enough.